have gone to Brighton. We have somehow come away with the 3 points. Massive, massive win. Backs to the wall performance. We didn't play particularly well. Do we care? Absolutely not. And to add to that, the other results that have come out tonight, Man City have drawn at home to Nottingham Forest, a result that no one expected. And we are now 7 points clear. Back to 7 points clear. Huge night in the title race. I'm joined by Raj and Chucks. How you doing, guys?
Not bad.
Well, yeah.
Not bad.
Not a bad night, is it?
Our big tonight.
It's a shame it's not a Friday or a Saturday, isn't it? Would have been good.
Oh, gosh.
Good sesh if we were at a game tonight. Right, let's get into it, boys. First of all, obviously going to talk about the game. We're obviously going to talk about what the results tonight mean. And, we've ticked off another game now and obviously one step closer to a potential title. I want to just talk about, I didn't want to start with this, but I think it's really important that we do start with it because Fabian Hurzeler, right, has really pissed me off this week. Really pissed me off. And I don't know about you guys, right? Like, in theory, he should be one of the most likable managers kind of in football in the Premier League, right? He's very young. I think he's is he 37 or something like that? He's ridiculously young. He's younger than all. Well, he's definitely younger than me. I'll say that. He's younger than me.
33.
I was 33. Oh my God. Right. So he's and he's managing a team, quite a likable team. No one's really got anything against Brighton apart from Palace fans and maybe some other South Coast teams. But from the moment the build up to this game started, i.e. basically from the first pre-match press conference, he has just gone for us and gone for Arteta. And for me, that seemed to overshadow the entire kind of build up to the game from any sort of like tactical aspect or anything else. Everything this week, anything I've heard on the radio, anything I've seen on Sky Sports or on Twitter has just been this pile-on Arsenal around the way that we play football, how long we take over a corner or set pieces, all of these things. And then what I was even more frustrated with is during the game, he was just constantly at the fourth official. And it's funny how narratives are set because Arteta, yes, he has his moments and he says certain things, but I think over the last few years, since his early days as Arsenal manager, he's calmed down quite a lot. Not really calmed down, but, I think he's probably learned. He's learned, considering it was his first managerial job. Yet he is disliked by so many opposition fans. He's disliked by the media. He gets anything he says gets clipped up and put into sound bites, whereas Hurzeler makes all these comments, does all these things, and kind of gets away with it, really. I guess maybe because Brighton are just not a big team. I just wanted to get that off my chest because, and we can talk about it later because obviously the priority is talking about the game and Arsenal and, all of that. But I was just amazed. The commentary that I was listening to was just non-stop about everything. Anytime that we had a goal kick, a throw in, they would literally, there were a couple of times where they timed it and, Arsenal have taken 37 seconds to take this goal kick. It was beyond ridiculous. And it all stems from, managers kind of just being quite irresponsible, really, with some of the things that they come out with in these press conferences. And I appreciate he's just trying to create a bit of a needle in the match. And he's trying to sort of get one up on Arteta and maybe get, it helps get the fans on side and it helps probably, you might get 1% more off the ref maybe. But, yeah, man, I was astounded by kind of like how anti-Arsenal this has become, even though we're winning games and, doing very, very well at winning games. I don't know if you guys have got any thoughts on that before we go into the actual game itself.
I have a few. You go, Chucks, you go for it.
I was going to say, personally, I loved it. It was great. And I'll tell you why. Our system is our system. And I thought actually Arteta responded really well to the pile-on, which is, I hope we score more goals from set pieces. I hope we actually continue to do what we're doing and even more. because at the end of the day, as long as we're being successful, that's all that matters. And so I thought that was a perfect response. And then going into the game, and you could see them trying to, kind of get on top of the referee and the fourth official, trying to get us to quicken the pace and hurry up. And they were all kind of waving their arms. And again, I thought, great, because if they're not concentrating on the game and concentrating on their system and how they're playing, and if all they're concentrating on is all of this kind of just distraction, really, then as far as I'm concerned, we've already got to them from a mindset perspective, and we've unsettled them. So again, as far as my view was fantastic, even better, right? Let them focus on that and not on the game. And then at the end of it, even though, yeah, we were under a bit of pressure, I have to admit, as part of the game, I know we're going to get into it, but I think for them, they will see this as opportunity lost, because we didn't play that particularly well, but they didn't assert themselves as well as they could. And part of it was because of, just all the nonsense that they were doing. Like I said, the waving the arms and trying to get to the ref and all that kind of stuff. So, no, and actually, if other teams continue doing that, our system and the way we play, it's set. The way we do set pieces, corners, our system, it's all set. Rightly or wrongly, it's set. So trying to harass us this way is not going to make any difference. It's actually just going to hurt them more than it hurts us, in my view. So yeah, let them, as far as I'm concerned. Raj?
I suppose there's the stuff that Hurzeler said before the game and after the game, and how we think, how we look at that and whether we think it affects referees, etc. There's the general narrative as well, and all the stuff that has also been floating around. We separate them for a second. Hurzeler's just behaving like a petulant child, and that's just it. And he is a child, really. I mean, we're all, unfortunately older than that. And when I still have the capacity to be immature and perhaps throw toys out of the pram when things aren't going my way. I mean, this is like a hyper competitive guy. He's obviously like a talented coach, but he's still only 33 years old. And I think you're seeing the behavior of a guy who is pretty immature, all things considered, and is in a situation where he's under pressure, genuinely under pressure as a manager. Yeah. So this is a guy who's come to the Premier League, and it's like, oh my God, what an amazing young talent. Crazy to manage a Premier League team at this age. So you've got all that hype behind you, right? And actually at the beginning, people are looking at his results, they're okay, and they're like, wow, what a talent. Things have been going really badly. I mean, he won 2 games in a row previous to this, but before that, it was terrible. Like, he's basically losing most games for the last sort of month or so. The fans have turned on him. So he's not in a good place, right? So the way that he's behaving before the game is just a little bit, take the tension off him, and already almost like make the excuses and all that kind of nonsense. I am not convinced that stuff like this actually affects referees as much as we think it can, for a lot of reasons. But one thing that sort of triggered me thinking that way was I might have mentioned that referee for a Halam, the relatively new referee who managed who he did the game where I think it was Man City Wolves, and Pep got really upset with the decision that he made, and he complained about him, and there was all this kind of, I don't know if you guys remember that. He's a fairly new referee, but he's a Premier League referee nonetheless. He goes to the same gym as I do, and a couple of interesting things there, right? Is when he goes to the gym, and honestly, there are people talking to him constantly about football. Oh, wow. There are people constantly will be just like, "What did you think about this game? What did you think about this decision?" And I probably imagine it's annoying and whatever, but it makes me think that referees are pretty normal in the sense that they're not these like multi-millionaires who have these private gyms and can just set themselves away from the rest of the world. They're exposed to the real world. They get a lot of this stuff. I think they see through it a lot, right? I think that they're able, like someone like this referee, for example, that I've just mentioned. I mean, he's getting comments about whether it be set pieces, whether it would be about, decisions in a certain game, etc. That I imagine the people making those comments are wondering maybe that, if they If they're a fan of a team that he's going to referee, maybe it can help influence, etc. I think stuff like that happens a lot, and I think these referees kind of do see through it. So I'm not convinced these things really influence him that much. The stuff he said post game, Hurzeler, again, I think it just it just goes into this childlike narrative. How can you come out and say something like, I'll never be a manager who wins like this? He says sometimes nonsense like this. Mate, at 33 years old, you can't be coming out with random stuff like, I will never be a manager who tries to win this way. I mean, first of all, mate, he might not be a manager who plays in any way soon if he doesn't win any games. So firstly, he should be worried about just trying to win some games. But secondly, when you are managing a team who's trying to win a league and you're playing in every competition, it's a whole different set of dynamics, mate. You're in the results business. You win however the F you can. You don't get the luxury of necessarily playing the way you want to every game, because you've got another game in 2 days and another game in 3 days and another game after that in 3 days, and they're all big games. So you don't get to be that petulant about it. I mean, it's a bit immature, as I've said, and maybe I'll stop there. But Myz, I think, as a general point, I know there's been a big narrative about, the Premier League going down in quality, the style being bad, and it's that indirectly being blamed on Arteta. Look, man, again, I think that's totally ridiculous. It's a it's massively reductive on just the quality of defensive organization Premier League teams have now. The way their analysts can work under very tight timeframes to not come up with the most specific plans for the teams that you're playing against. Players have got all this information. They know exactly how other teams move. They know exactly how to stop certain things from happening. It's so hard to attack from open play cohesively now. Something like this was always going to happen. You have teams just looking for the edges and, scoring through set pieces or scoring through relatively sort of scruffy. I mean, even our goal today was, it was a bit scruffy, if you know what I mean. It's fairly lucky or fortuitous. I mean, I think it's just because of the quality of defensive organization that we're seeing. Yes, it makes a poorer product overall. You would probably like to see more expansive attacking play. We're only just seeing that because defenses are better. Defensive organization is better. People never slagged off Italy back in the day when Italy was the hub of defensive nous, right? Everyone just talked about it in such glowing terms. We perhaps are that now in England. And I think everyone's just being a little bit reactive and a little bit back in my day type vibe. At the end of the day, mate, if we go on and win this league, if we go in and win more than just this league or, whatever, people will reflect on this in a very different way, I think. At the moment, I think this is just all noise.
And also, just to add to that, remember, I mean, I don't remember anybody saying about Mourinho when he was winning defensively. When his tactical news, strong defensive record, and he wasn't exactly a cavalier manager. He just knew how to go and win. My view is Arteta's kind of going down a similar pathway. So all that matters is to win. That's it. And as long as we do, no one's gonna look back on this and start to pick apart how he did it. All that matters is that he did it.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Because they played this clip that was going around social media. And it was just the best example of what you're saying, right? Because it was back in a game where Arsenal were playing Chelsea. I think it was at the Emirates. And Didier Drogba scores this goal. It's basically a cross comes through from Ashley Cole. Drogba scores. And the commentator, his words almost verbatim were like, and as always, Arsenal play the football, but Chelsea score the goals. And it was said with this tone of appreciation towards Chelsea. It wasn't in a negative. It was negative towards Arsenal, not towards Chelsea. And we've been on the receiving end of that for so many years. Now we're doing it, mate. I'm not going to feel bad about this stuff. This is ridiculous. We lost so many games, the opportunity to win so many trophies because we did not have this about us. You're not taking this away from us, man. We get to play how we want, and if we win, we win, and it's not. And everyone's also trying to do this. Just no one can do it as well as we can. Simple.
Well said. Well said, boys. Yeah, look, I should probably hold my hands up and maybe apologise for starting what should be a kind of celebratory night on a negative note. It was just really, really, as you can tell, kind of just bugging me and annoying me, and it has for the last couple of days. And yeah, like you say, Raj, there's been loads of stuff coming out. I guess we're going to just have to get used to seeing that for the next few weeks until we probably lose a game, and then everyone's going to pile in on us for that. But yeah, all right, look, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the team. The team that are now 7 points clear, which sounds really, really nice to say, and a little bit more relaxing now. We've got that buffer, at least for the time being. Team lineup. So there was a bit of a surprise. I mean, Arteta did his press conference yesterday, and he spoke about a number of the players that have sort of been on the edge. Rice, on the edge / coming back into fitness. Havertz, Odegaard, White being out, Dowman back in the squad. One player he didn't mention was William Saliba. So I think we're all a little bit shocked when he wasn't in the starting lineup. Aside from that, it was kind of as expected. I think we had some conversations in our group chat about potentially resting one of the midfield two in Zubimendi or Rice, and he's played them and started them again. And I think we were all watching slightly concerned about what their legs are like at the moment, and are they in that red zone? Are they on the borderline of an injury? But he went with both of them. Rice actually completed the game. Otherwise, not really too many surprises. You could make a case for maybe Calafiori coming into the team, but Hincapié, who's been playing very, very well, and it feels like he's kind of owning that left back spot now, started again. And Martinelli came in. I think Trossard started the last game, if I remember correctly, against Chelsea. He did, didn't he? Yeah. So yeah, look, lineup, obviously Saliba was unexpected. I think the interesting one for me to talk about is the midfield too, in Zubimendi and Rice, because I really thought tonight might be a night that he would rest Zubimendi. I didn't think he would rest Rice because, and I know Raj, between the four of us, we've had this conversation quite a lot over the last 24 hours around kind of, at what point do you say Declan Rice needs to have a rest or just come out of the team, basically, right? And for me, it is a case of, okay, if he is on the verge of injury, and sometimes it's very hard to predict that. I know they've got all the data and all the stats, but ultimately sometimes an injury happens and it just happens, right? But I think unless he is on that borderline, he starts for me, because I think he's just crucial to us getting over the line. Not necessarily, he might not be necessarily crucial to us playing amazing football or maybe scoring lots of goals, but I think just in terms of us getting over the line, everything that we know about him, all of his qualities, including those set pieces, I think he starts. And we had a bit of a debate about, well, what if it might be a risk and all of those things. I thought that the one that he might rest was Zubimendi and maybe play a Norgard or maybe change the system up, which he didn't. But yeah, especially Raj, I'm just keen to ask you about that, because I know you had some really interesting thoughts about Rice before the game and during the game as well, actually.
Yeah, you're right about both of them have on paper all the needs to have a rest. So I did think there was a good chance that one would be rested. And I thought that it would be more likely that it would be Rice, just because of how he went off in the Chelsea game. And, he looked really tired that game, and it seemed to get the better of him towards the end, and then he went off. So my view on Rice is that he quite literally is first or second name on the team sheet. And he is so important. He's so important to us that, him suffering any kind of long-term fatigue issue, which impacts how he's able to play, or even worse, he suffers some kind of injury which keeps him out like for a period of time, is so bad for us. It would be such an impact for us that today, I came into the game thinking, wouldn't it just be better to give him a rest? Because, and it kind of, the way it started playing out in the first half was partly what I was thinking, which is that he's not superhuman, right? Like there's not, like he puts these.
He is superhuman, mate. He is literally superhuman.
So what I mean is, and actually, I would agree with you in the sense that the second half, his performance, like the energy levels he shows sometimes, like yes, it does seem like it's superhuman. What I mean is that he's not superhuman in the sense that if he is having niggles, if there's something wrong with, if it's fatigue, if it's tiredness or whatever, he probably will make mistakes because, like, surely he would. Like that's not even being harsh on him. That's just at this level, at this like Premier League level, at this elite level. If you're not like all there, if you haven't got it all there fitness wise, there's something wrong with you. You're probably gonna make some mistakes, and it's understandable. So my mindset was, if that's where he is physically at the moment, and if he is going to be making some mistakes, well, surely it can't be that bad to just throw in a Norgard instead. And you know what? If we need to bring on Rice later because whatever, whatever. That was my perspective on it. But I think that second half, it obviously showed. I mean, it's the greatest example of why he is so important. I mean, he was just absolutely outrageous that second half off the ball. I mean, incredible the shift that he put in. He was everywhere. He was sprinting non-stop till the end. He was making really good decisions as well, I thought, like in the second half, of where he was trying to shadow the ball, where he would want to take the ball. He was doing a really good job as well of taking the ball out and trying to release pressure. I thought he was brilliant in that second half. So, amazing. So at the end of the day, Myz, to be honest, right, like, and I think you were leaning on the idea of, starting them both because of how important this game is. Well, the way it's panned out, that was absolutely the right decision, because not only have we got the win, but the way the other results have gone. I mean, now you create this buffer where you could argue. I know you wouldn't want to be complacent, but you could argue, okay, well, give them a rest against Everton, maybe, like give them, do you know what I mean? Like you've got that buffer now, maybe. But that was it's just because I think he's so important. He's so good that the thought of us not having him, the thought of us losing him seriously, the thought of us not even having him at, close to 100%, it's just, it could be so pivotal. So that was it, mate. But, ends justify the means. And I think, at the end of the day, we're in the business of results-based analysis, right? And we won. We got over the line, and he was a big part of it in the end. So, and Zubi as well, man. Like both of them put in big shifts. We were crap on the ball today. We were so poor on the ball today. We were so poor controlling the game. And I will say that, when a team doesn't control the game well, it's impossible to say that the central midfielders had a good game on the ball. It's in the same way as if, if you have a good game, if your team control the ball well, it's invariably that your central midfielders did a good job. So in that respect, Zubi and Rice did a really poor job, as well as everyone else did, in terms of trying to control this game in possession. But bloody hell, did they put in a shift in that second half? They were just absolutely incredible. So yeah, no, that's my thoughts overall on it, Myz. And I just hope that they get to have, obviously they will have a nice break. Bloody hopefully they get completely rested against. Well, you say this. Do you remember the last time this happened? I thought, didn't one of them start? Didn't Zubi start against Wigan or something like? It was something where we were like, well, obviously they won't start, and one of them started.
I thought you rotated the entire first.
Maybe you're right. Maybe right. And maybe I'm mistaking the game, but I hope they get a rest. And then obviously we've got Leverkusen, and I think they'll both play because it's still the Champions League and it's away. But we'll see. That's just so important to us, man, both of them. So
yeah. Okay. Let's get into the game, Chucks, because I'm keen to hit. Because look, in terms of how this match started and that first half, really, really interesting, because Brighton were very, very good, right? They were very good. They had lots of the ball. It felt like we were quite under the cosh. Defense really needed to be kind of on it, and we very much weren't on it in the first couple of minutes. I think it was Raya's mistake. I think that was in like the 3rd minute where he just passes it out straight to a Brighton player. And like that's becoming a little bit worrying. Obviously, it ended up not costing us. But when you see that happen, kind of gives you an idea of what's to come, not necessarily in terms of us making loads of mistakes, but you just felt, oh, this is going to be a long fucking night watching this game. It's not going to be enjoyable. But despite that, we took the lead very early on. I think 9th minute, I think Saka scores. And I've been saying this for ages, right? Like I think we've all been saying it to a certain extent, right? If you get into a position where you can shoot, just fucking shoot. Like we have the players that can do that. And even when you think about players that are not playing, like Odegaard, for example, all of these guys can shoot from range. and we just don't do it enough. And look, we basically won the game. I think that was our only shot on target the entire game? Maybe not, but like basically we didn't create anything the entire game. The goal has come from Saka doing what he knows, doing what he's good at, and almost taking a bit of a chance. Like we know that that's a bit of his trademark shot. He cuts in on his left and he bends it. He didn't really execute it very well, but it goes in, right? And like we take the lead, but ultimately that first half felt like really, really hard work for us. Yeah, Chuks, so just keen to get your thoughts, mate. Like what like we didn't play well, as Raj said, right? The whole game, we weren't particularly good on the ball, and it felt like we were having to deal with Brighton being the kind of aggressor in this match. And we were relying on the defense a lot, but specifically in that first half, like just any thoughts around, or what are your thoughts around kind of how we played, why it just didn't really work? Was it Brighton just doing the right things and causing us problems?
No, it's hard because we've won and everyone's happy. And so to then start to dissect and potentially...
You're asking to take Chuks to a sad place again.
But I prepared myself at the start of the season mentally. I said, mate, it's going to be one game at a time. Don't go to that place where it just all falls apart and it's just constant criticism. But look, we didn't play well. The first half, the goal was I would say a plucky goal. It was a plucky goal, right? Because there was a series of things that happened that don't normally happen. Saka isn't normally one-on-one, right? He's normally doubled up. Teams know that he cuts inside, so they also try to typically make sure that if he does cut back inside, they don't let him release the shot. He was able to release the shot. It took a deflection. And then somehow, because of that deflection, then nutmeg the keeper deflected off him into the goal. There was a series of events that resulted in that goal happening that were, I would say, abnormal. So I'm not going to say that was a wonderfully crafted goal by, tactical excellence. It wasn't. It was a plucky goal. After that, there wasn't much that we offered. And again, it's kind of like the same kind of like a music track. Again, Martinelli wasn't really working. He couldn't beat his man. Gyökeres was battling well up front, and he was doing what Gyökeres does, but at times, again, I mean, we were in a chat a number of times, we were like, what was Gyökeres doing there? Because he tried to take the ball and then he couldn't control it, or he couldn't get the pass off, and you're just going, come on. Again, Eze just kind of disappeared in this game. I was hoping that Eze moving more into that 10 spot, right behind Gyökeres, and having that space to operate would mean that we would see a lot more creativity from him. And we saw it in the Spurs game. In that last game, it was hit and miss. And in this game, he just became anonymous again, somewhat. And it was down to our defense and, defensive excellence, midfield kind of domination. And what was interesting about the game, because obviously we were all in chat about, through the whole game. What I found really interesting is I had a slightly different reaction to the rest of you guys as the game was going through. And what I mean by that is we were under pressure. There's no doubt. Brighton, there was a lot of risk. There's no doubt. But I have seen these games so many times where a goal is coming. A goal is coming from the other team, because we are under so much pressure and there is so much incompetence. You're just going, it's a matter of time. It's strange. This game, even though we were under pressure, I didn't feel like Brighton were going to score. I genuinely didn't. So I wasn't having quite the same reactions. Don't get me wrong. There were a couple of times where you kind of held on. You think, "Ooh," but apart from those couple of times, I wasn't completely dejected, thinking this is a disaster. Any moment now, this goal is coming. So, and I don't know if that is necessarily down to we were able to at least control our nerves better, or just Brighton were just not that good on the night, right? Yeah, my from watching Arsenal for I don't know how many decades now, I know when that I've got that feeling in the pit of my stomach of this is a disaster, just bomb scare any moment. But I didn't have that tonight. I thought, yeah, we're under pressure, but I think we're going to see this through. So yeah, my response to the first half was almost just like the same old music, the same people not really delivering up front. Defensively in the midfield, we were doing our thing, great. And what we had all said with regards to this running, which is it's actually not going to be, it's not who the best is going to win this league. It's going to be who is the least worst between ourselves and City are going to be the ones who win this league. And tonight almost literally showcased what we meant by that, right? Tonight literally showcased that, because City went up twice and conceded and drew 2-2, and they didn't play well. And we went up 1-0. We didn't play well, but we were able to not, and it was a plucky goal, and we were able to not concede, and we won the game. And it is literally like our statement playing out in true form. And it's going to be like this for the rest of the season, as far as I'm concerned. I just don't see us all of a sudden, the forward line, just clicking and we're making moves and there's goals happening. I just don't see it happening. I think the performance tonight is the same performance I saw the last game and the game before and the game before. And I think we're going to see it for the rest of the season. Maybe not in the Champions League, but certainly in the league. I think this is what it's going to be like.
So you've gone straight from the first half to like March, April, May, mate. Like you just let's go, man.
Sorry,
we can end the episode now.
No,
I'm joking.
I just had to get it out.
It's all good. It's all good.
That's why we can never be professionals.
It's all good. No, that's fine, man. Yeah, look, I mean, I agree with a lot of the stuff you said, to be honest. I think that's how this title race is panning out. But look, let's leave that chat if we can. Like, let's try and come back to it maybe after we just sort of talk about some of the other incidents in the game, and obviously get onto the second half as well. I mean, look, in terms of that first half, just maybe to close off on that. Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Chucks, or I do agree with you, Chucks. Like, it felt like we were, as I said before, under the cosh quite a lot, which you don't often see. You don't often see with Arsenal. We're used to us being a high possession team. I think maybe in the last few weeks we've seen it a little bit more, but we tend to be the team that does dominate, even if it is just holding onto the ball or holding onto possession, but not necessarily doing a huge amount with it. This game felt very, very different in that aspect. But at the same time, I'm trying to think how many like sort of clear cut chances Brighton really created, and how many problems they really caused us in that sense. And I think it was just a case of we just had to be, I think you guys have touched on it really, we just had to be very, very switched on defensively. Like, it was a really big defensive shift from everyone, including Declan Rice, as well. Any other incidents from the first half that you guys like want to talk about, or anything else, Raj?
I don't think so. I think perhaps the only layer I'd add is that, with you can often tell a lot with how Arsenal and Arteta expect a game to go by which wide players they pick. And through picking Martinelli over Trossard, you're very specifically sort of saying, I would rather have a runner than have interior security. And it's a very specific thing that you would do if you think that you're going to be facing a team that's going to be playing a high line. And today was clearly, I think that's what Arteta thought was going to happen. So there was still a bit of, if you notice towards the first periods of the game, there was an appetite to try and get the ball forward early. It was happening a few times where they were just trying to do it, whether that be playing through the centre. And if you recall, there was one quite good move with when Eze flicked it around the corner for Saka and Saka crossed it through. It was an example of them trying to get the ball forward early and exploiting this high line. So in a way, you could say that the theory was okay, but the overall execution was just really poor from the players. And I think that's what it came down to, because Saka, fine. I actually no issues with Saka, really. But Martinelli, his job was to take advantage of this. It was quite clear his job was to take advantage of this high line, to create some uncertainty from Brighton's perspective as to how high they could go, and really, really just play on the edge. His runs were bad. Every decision he made, I thought, was wrong for most of the first half anyway. And there was a knock-on effect as a result of that. And I think, I think Duke's pointed out some stuff about Eze as well. And I felt the only bit I felt a little bit for Eze was I felt that at times, because we weren't controlling the ball very well deeper in the, sort of traditional Rice Zubimendi areas, felt like he was coming a little bit deeper as well. Maybe he thought he needed to help out a little bit more than he needed to, perhaps, because with him coming so deep, we lost something, I thought. But really, I guess the conclusion of my point, Myz, is I don't think the plan was wrong. I just don't think it was executed very well. And then unfortunately, we went into our happy place very quickly of let's defend. Our players, I think, are so happy and comfortable in that world of being under pressure and, getting into the right structures and understanding what they need to do and what's expected of them. I think they're just so comfortable doing that unfortunately, when you have these periods of just when you're under the cosh, when the games are coming thick and fast and you just want to get it over the line, I think that, we can probably do it a little bit too early. And I think the fact that we started doing that in the first half, that was a concern for me.
It's really interesting what you just said there, Raj, about kind of the team just sort of naturally falling into this happy place, right? And it's almost like the enjoyment of holding on to a 1-0 and that defending line. And players like Gabriel or Raya, like at Timber, I can absolutely see that. It's just, obviously for us to watch it and experience it and maybe have to do it another 8 more times potentially or whatever, for the rest of the season, it's like, that second half was hard to watch. But let's talk about the second half as well. Then Brighton made a change at half time. Minter came on for Matoma, and I was like, wasn't the player that I really wanted to see come on. I can't say I've seen that much of Brighton recently, but I know, we all know kind of like what Minter's about, and he's just a player that you kind of expect to cause fullbacks problems, and he basically did exactly that. I think Arsenal just again didn't start that second half very well at all. There was no real fluency, and again we just weren't really keeping hold of the ball, and it felt like Brighton just wanted it a little bit more, or at least were taking the game to us a little bit more. But again, I think defensively we were very, very solid. And as the kind of second half progressed, I don't know, for me, it felt like Brighton's belief maybe faded a little bit. Maybe the crowd had a bit of a part to play in that, because obviously the crowd were well up for it. Every time we got a free kick, or every time we had a goal kick, for example, the crowd were on us to take it quickly because of all this narrative that's been built up pre-game and by Hurzeler and by the media and everything. And I think that's just started to fade as maybe they started to realize that, a goal for them was getting further and further away. What was just super frustrating for me, I was watching it, and we weren't playing well, but then even the games that we haven't necessarily played that well from a kind of attacking perspective, and we haven't had that fluency, we've obviously been able to rely on these set pieces, right? We've obviously been able to fall back on those set pieces. And look, it's not a plan B for us. It's absolutely a plan A for us. We create lots of corners, or we earn lots of corners because we earn them, right? Because the ball gets into dangerous areas and we earn corners. But we didn't really see that much of that in this game. When things aren't going that great in open play, we didn't really see that many corners. I don't know how many corners we had in the match today, but I don't remember us having that many. And we just weren't able to find a way to get a second goal. And it felt like a game where if we got the second goal, I mean, I'm not complaining, we've won the game, so I don't care. But, obviously we're talking about it. Getting a second goal in this game, because it was so tight, right? There were not many chances at all. It just felt like, okay, get a second goal. And then I think that's it. I think it's done. I don't think it's a game. Was it Wolves that we went 2 up and then conceded 2? I think I didn't feel like it was going to be one of those games. I think the belief would have just gone out of Brighton. So that was kind of frustrating for me. It's worked out. Like, it's fine. It's worked out. We've got the 3 points. City have drawn. We're all happy. But, and I guess, look, we're now counting down the games where this stress, like, the possibility of us like messing it up, basically, game by game, that's the risk of that happening is reducing. But it is a little bit worrying. Because how many times can you sit on a 1-0 and come away with a, you know what I mean? Like, come away with a 1-0, because it only takes a dodgy decision, a chance of, we've conceded our fair share of worldies this season as well. But yeah, like, again, like, just that lack of making it work, and coming out in the second half with a slightly different approach. Like, nothing really seemed to change in the second half for me, especially the first like 15-20 minutes. And I remember thinking to myself, I would just like for us to have a period of possession. Like, we don't have to do anything with the ball. I don't really care if we go for a goal. I would like to see us just pass the ball around with like a bit of authority, and like, okay, we're just going to calm everything down here and almost sap the energy out of the game. And we didn't really do that. I don't know, Chucks, if you've got any further thoughts on that, and especially the second half.
And in the second half, what I thought was positive and actually did help us to see out the game were the substitutions. I thought the substitutions added a lot, and especially there were a couple of players that in some games they had come in for criticism. There's maybe a question mark around their fitness and etc. That when they came on, I thought they really contributed a significant amount from being on the pitch. One of them especially was Calafiori, right, for me. Now, don't get me wrong, Hincapié did a great job. He put in a real shift on down that left, and I like him as a player, but there's still an element to me of, especially for his attacking play, where I'm going, how much is he, or is there more that we can have out of this? Is he the pinnacle, the peak, right? And even his play in midfield as well. So he's a great left back. He's a great utility player. He's a great squad player. He brings a lot to us. He stabilizes when he's coming in for someone. But I personally really like Calafiori. I like it. I really do, because of what he gives, not just at the back, but also going forward. And I thought Calafiori coming on was great, and was part of the reason why the pressure wasn't on as much, because he did actually provide also an element of attacking impetus and a lot in midfield. That meant that it wasn't just we were just constantly under pressure and sitting back. He was a good outlet. He was a way that we could get the ball forward. And then when we were forward, there was something a little bit extra that he provided. So I am a fan of Calafiori, and I liked that substitution. And I'm actually hoping that soon he will be fit enough to potentially start at left back again and provide us some of those moments that we know he can do. Excuse me. And as well, so that's what I mean. Even Norgard kind of coming on as well, it was able to stabilize the midfield. As we said, there are people that are tired. There's all sorts of question marks around Norgard. Does Arteta trust him? Can he do a job when he comes on? And that was a high pressure moment. He came on. He did. He slotted in from into the role from Zubimendi, and he was comfortable in that position. As I said before, we don't know if Brighton just were off it a bit, but the guys who came on, I wasn't sitting there thinking this is going to be troublesome, right? I thought they did a good job. So in a way, I'm hoping that is a good positive sign for us for the games that are to come, because there's going to be a lot of change. There's going to be a lot of rotation. We need we're going to need everyone if we are going to get the most out of this season. So that was a positive sign in that second half. Some of those substitutions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point, man. Like, I mean, yeah, like you say, we're going to need the squad, and that's why we built this squad. We're still in four competitions, and March, in March, and it's pretty crazy. And we've got Mansfield in the cup, so we should be progressing in that. So, yeah, it's a good point about the subs as well, because the one that I kind of noticed or was really, because I wanted him to start, to be fair, was Kai Havertz. And I know he's just come back from the sort of second injury or the niggle that he's had following his long-term injury. So, I guess he's just sort of being managed very carefully, and that's understandable. But yeah, I was really, really pleased to see that he was in the squad, and I was really pleased to see him come on. And I thought his performance, like, I'm keen to get your guys' thoughts on this as well, because I don't know how much this plays into. Obviously, it's going to play into Arteta's thinking for the rest of the season, but I don't know if there's potentially a chance that he takes Gyökeres's place at some point fairly soon, if he persists with Eze as the 10, or if he maybe takes Eze's place. But for me, I think if he's fit, he should be starting. And I was really, really impressed with his like cameo, or what he did when he came on. Like, he looked pretty sharp. Again, like I said this when he came back the first time round, as in when he came back from that long-term injury. I was very surprised with how quick he was, just up to like match speed, if you know what I mean. And I thought he was just a very good focal point today. I think he was making really good runs. Like, he even had a chance or two. There was that chance where he was just onside and he got through and he hit a shot near post. Maybe could have done a bit better with it. Maybe could have crossed instead of shooting. But, created a corner out of it, or, forced a save out of the keeper. I just thought he looked very, very bright. And naturally there's this contrast with I think as fans, we're going to look at, who he's come on for, basically, in terms of Victor Gyökeres, and kind of what we've seen from Gyökeres this season. I mean, there were some pretty bad moments from Gyökeres tonight, right? Like that I think it was in the first half, when right at the end of the first half, and I think Chucks, you put in the group chat, like, Gyökeres, what the hell is he doing? When he basically like just miscontrols the ball and then ends up taking out a player and costing us a free. Like, it's just like, it is a bit slapstick. Some of the things he does, it is, right? And you obviously don't really get that with Kai Havertz. And look, time will tell what Arteta chooses to do. Obviously, he's a fantastic option. Like, either option off the bench is fantastic. But I was just really, I don't know, I was just very, very happy seeing what looked like a fit Kai Havertz getting about the pitch. He was making himself quite difficult to play against. He was battling really hard, which is obviously the bare minimum what you'd expect. But I thought that just, yeah, like I said, I think the main thing for me is he just looks really, really sharp. Like, he's ready to go. Obviously, he's probably not ready to go in terms of 90 minutes, but it looks like he's just ready to like play a game. Whether he starts again, it'll be really interesting to see, because obviously we've got this FA Cup game where Arteta is going to rotate, but then you've got Bayer Leverkusen, and you could argue that like a Champions League game is a very Havertz, they're the games that you want Havertz in, and that's what we wanted him back for. But yeah, look, Raj, I've spoken about Havertz. Obviously, Chucks has spoken about Calafiori. Any thoughts on any other subs, or any of the ones that we've spoken about?
Well, maybe on all of them. I think that we might just see, they're kind of yin yang. Some of these players, it's like we have Timber and White, and they are suited for slightly different things. You'd say, although Timber is probably our first choice right back, they definitely have different qualities. Timber is a better defender than Ben White. Ben White is better going forward than Timber. And so there is a time and a place where it's better to have a Ben White on the pitch. The same thing can be said for the left. It's slightly different, but if we could oversimplify it and basically say that Hincapié is an incredibly strong defender, but he's not that great going forward. He's done a couple of cool things going forward recently, but he's not as good going forward as Calafiori. But Calafiori is not as good defensively as Hincapié is. So they have that yin yang, and there's just going to be a time and a place, I think, for each of them. To a certain extent, you could say that up front as well, right? Kai Havertz is a much better footballer than Victor Gyökeres is. But Victor Gyökeres is a more natural centre forward. Victor Gyökeres just wants to do things that centre forwards do. He wants to score goals, and he's very clunky. He did some absolute comedy stuff today. But I think the fact is, like, he is a good centre forward to have when you're playing this sort of lower half, like I say lower half, but outside of the top sides, he's not a bad guy to have on the pitch, Victor Gyökeres, particularly if you're at home. So if you look at the games coming up, actually a lot of them are Victor Gyökeres Calafiori games, because we're at home to Everton, we're at home to Fulham coming up. Those are games where I probably wouldn't want Hincapié, and I probably may not even want Kai Havertz necessarily over Gyökeres. But Myz, I do think that Kai Havertz will play a lot of games, assuming fitness is not an issue. I think Kai Havertz almost gets the nod over Gyökeres in the vast majority of any game that looks biggish, because he's just that good a footballer, and I think that he is better against like the better sides. So yeah, look, but other than that, it's almost like those are our kind of interesting positions, because then when you've got the wide positions are sort of more, depending on the tactic that we want to play necessarily, they've slightly different profiles. And we've seen Arteta be very comfortable with kind of switching them up almost from a game to game basis, depending on what it is. The most interesting thing I think that is on my mind is, what does Arteta think he's going to do with Eze and Odegaard? Like, does he have an idea in his head that actually, I think I might want to calibrate this team towards Eze? Does he think his plan A is still Odegaard? Has Odegaard got a genuine fitness issue? Does he think he has a plan A at all? I don't know. That puzzles me a little bit. So it'll be very interesting, because we're obviously at the business end of the season. You imagine that most managers have everything figured out by now, but I don't think we have that one quite figured out. So that'll certainly be very, very, very interesting to see how it plays out. And there's no real clarity, right, that we've been given over the Odegaard situation. He's just sort of, I feel the murmurs has been like, yeah, he's a knock. He might be available this week. He might be available that week. It's just sort of quietly disappeared for a while, right? Completely disappeared for a while. Was he even at the game today? Maybe he was. Like, I'm not sure. It's all very quiet. Do you know what I mean? He's a captain, right? It's a bit odd. It feels a bit odd, but anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
Personally, mate. So I was just going to very quickly say, personally, I think that if he's match fit, I reckon Havertz will take over Eze. I think he will play Eze and yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. Mainly because, especially when we've got some of these bigger games coming up, some of these tighter games with some of these more bigger teams, and you want to be able to battle more in midfield, having that structure of Havertz, Rice and Zubimendi, I think maybe just adds a different dimension, especially if you're playing against some of these tougher sides, than having Eze in that slot. So I reckon potentially that's what's going to happen. Not necessarily is it Eze or Gyökeres. Is it Havertz or Gyökeres? It's going to be, is it Havertz or Eze?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, when he came back into the team, Havertz a few weeks ago, that's the position and the role that he took up, right? So yeah, I can definitely see it. I think we might. I don't know if Raj is still there or not. I think he's having some technical problems, so we'll plow on anyway, man. Look, I mean, we've won the game, and that is all that matters at this point of the season. We all want to see performances. Obviously, it'll be lovely to see Arsenal playing free-flowing football. We know that we're not going to get that this season, right? Maybe that's a next phase of our Arteta's plan: win everything, win the big major trophies this season, or win at least one, and then you kind of then maybe change it up, whatever. But ultimately, for the next, as I said before, 8 games, or 9 including this one, now 8 left, it is just about getting over the line, and we've done that. Tonight feels really, really big, obviously, because yes, we've gone and won, and it was a very, very tough away game. We expected it to be tough on paper. It was tough in reality, and Brighton gave us a game, right? And I think when you look at the fixtures that we've got left, like, you know, we've got a number of home games left, which you'd say we should be going on to win if we want to win the league. And the away games that we've got left are, you know, City away. Obviously, that's you know, that's the big one. West Ham away and Palace away on the final day of the season. Maybe West Ham might be down by then. They might be safe by then. I don't know. But yeah, that's who we've got left. So like, this was probably, the Brighton game was probably one of the toughest games that we've got out of the 9 that we had before tonight. We've now ticked that one off. That's huge. And then to add to that, you know, this bonus now of City, as you said, Chooks, I think it was you that said it, you know, going 1-0 up, Forest coming back, going 2-1 up, Forest coming back again. And, you know, that result is massive, because there's been this big narrative, along with a number of narratives about Arsenal this season. There's been this big narrative about when are Arsenal going to bottle it, because we've apparently bottled it the last 2 or 3 seasons, or in the last 3 seasons. We've been in great positions in terms of you know, points on the board and whatever, and we've kind of fallen off, or we've not done enough, you know. And you can argue how those seasons have panned out at the end, you know, the endings to those seasons on a separate conversation. Everyone's waiting for us to do the same thing, whereas City are now arguably the team that are actually doing that, right? Nottingham Forest at home, yes, okay, they're fighting for their lives like a number of these teams are. They need the points, but even so, right? Like, if this was Arsenal drawing at home to Forest 2-2, having taken the lead twice, can you imagine? Can you imagine like what everyone would be saying? It would be completely different. Like, to be fair, I've not seen any of the reaction about City. I've not seen anything, because, you know, obviously we're recording straight after the game, after the matches are finished. But, and I think one of you guys may have said this in the group chat as well, like, that feels really, really big. Not just the fact that they've dropped points, so we've now got a bigger cushion. And technically, I think it takes it out of their hands, right? Like, you know, there was this big thing about, you know, it's in City's hands a couple of weeks ago or last week. I think after we drew to Wolves, right? It's in City's hands, but it was also in our hands, and it always has been. I think now officially or mathematically, it takes it out of City's hands as well. So, like, I don't know, man, like, it feels really, really big. Like, it just feels like one of those, you know, people sometimes reflect on a season. They're like, oh, that was a pivotal moment. You know, sometimes when you listen to the ex-players, like, you know, the United players, you know, when Neville talks, or when Henry talks, or Vieira talks, or whatever, as pundits, and they talk about specific moments in a season that when they won the league or didn't go on to win the league, and they talk about this pivotal. This feels like that. It feels like, again, obviously this is assuming we do go on to win it. It feels like that. But like, how big, guys? Like, how big do you think that City result is? Not just, like I say, because we have now increased our lead by a couple of points, but also just like from a mentality perspective, because they've got big game. We've both got big games coming up. It feels like their next set of games is really, really tough, and like that they've obviously got this Real Madrid tie coming up, which is just going to be massive again, right? I'm feeling very, very positive about it all, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But how are you guys feeling about it, like with what's happened to City tonight as well?
So just one thing I want to add to what you said, mate, which is I completely agree with you. It is a big night. The fact that they took the lead twice and they weren't able to hold on to it, and then they dropped points and we won at this stage, significant. And then when you add to that, their next 2 Premier League games are away from home. Our next 2 Premier League games obviously are at home. They've got the Real Madrid tie as part, you know, in the mix there as well from a Champions League perspective. And then their next home game is against Arsenal. So the next 3 Premier League games are tricky. 2 away and then a home game against Arsenal. So all tough, and Champions League. And it could be that we get to that game with them and they are under like significantly more pressure to have to get something out of that game than we do. And then that's where mistakes happen. That's where, you know, all of a sudden the poise and controls goes out the window, because the margin of error is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you've got Arsenal, your direct rival, and you have to get something out of that game. So yeah, that tonight was significant. I would have said if we had dropped points as well, or if we'd lost that game, it would have been advantage City for me. it would have been, even with the series of games that they've got coming, it would have been advantage City for me, because just with the way that things are swinging. But picking up the points, and with them dropping points, and when with the games that are on the horizon, I feel more confident than probably I have, knock on wood, I have been at any point so far of the trajectory of where we're going now. Even though we're not playing that well,
yeah,
they currently are playing worse, and they've got a more difficult period coming up. So significant in terms of the direction of travel of what's going to happen in this season.
It's a stark reminder of, we analyze our own team so much because they're our team, and we've talked about so many things that we've been concerned about, over, say, the last month. But in reality, you compare that to other teams, and really they're dissecting a hell of a lot more than we are right now. And certainly I agree with everything that's been said so far, and I'll just underline, I think that this could go down as the pivotal 2 days, or the pivotal day of the season, for like a couple of reasons, right? Firstly, I think we're in that territory of the season where one team winning and another team dropping points, it has a huge swing on outlook, not just in points, but in outlook. So imagine today, right, if we had dropped points and City had won, it's a completely different vibe. We start looking at the games coming up, and all of a sudden there's big pressure on Arsenal in front of our own fans to get results against an Everton team who actually have started looking pretty good and have an outside chance of finishing top 5, against a Fulham team that beat Spurs the other day, and a London rival, whatever. Anyway, the point is the pressure is on us. It's completely different as a result of how it swung today. If you're Pep Guardiola and if you're City, right, you would have looked at the last few games we've had and thought that there was a genuine chance that Arsenal would drop points in at least one, right? Tottenham, for as much of a banter as Tottenham are, is still the North London derby, then Chelsea, then away at Brighton. If you're Pep and City, I guarantee they would have been looking at that going, Arsenal will probably drop points at least one. The fact that we haven't, regardless of how crap we've played at times, is huge. This is I think these 3 games were in 10 days. That's a lot, man. Like, that's Tottenham, Chelsea, Brighton away is tough. And all of a sudden the outlook is completely different, because now it's City that are under big pressure, serious pressure, by the way. City are under. They know they've got these, like Chooks pointed out, those games. Forget our game for a second. Those 2 away games coming up. Both West Ham and Chelsea are going to be 1,000,000%, 110 billion% up for those games. West Ham and City and Chelsea are going into those games thinking we can at least get a point in these games. They'll know that City are going to be nervy. And this isn't the City of old, right? This is a City that can get nervy and can drop points. So they'll know they can do that. West Ham are trying desperately to survive. Chelsea are trying desperately to finish their top 5 and now have a bit of momentum. Mate, it's tough for City now. The pressure is all there. And those big Champions League games. Massive, massive pressure, because what happens now, right, with these swings is one more weekend like this, that gap is massive then at this point of the season. So then if you're City, it's more around like, how do you motivate yourself? Because then you're kind of going, or are we just going to try and get through as much as possible so we can at least kind of stop the title from being won by Arsenal that early on? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's those sorts of things. That's an awful place mentally to be, because we've been there, right, a couple of times in the last couple of seasons. I'm thinking back to the season where which was the one where I think that was the first one, actually, when we finished second, and the way that started petering out when it got to the point that our lead had been lost. Essentially, we knew that City were probably going to win it, and the way that we were trying to get motivated for those final games was so hard. City may fall into that, mate. Just one more week out of these couple of game weeks coming up, one more swing like this. It could be that it really could be the knife. And then things could spiral fast, right? Then it goes fast. Then it goes from like, oh my God, will Arsenal win the league? Maybe Arsenal could win the league, to Arsenal might win the league with 4 or 5 weeks to go, 4 or 5 weeks, game weeks to go. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, genuinely, like if we just do the maths, that's how it could work out. So this is just an incredible day for us. Absolutely incredible. Like, so I don't think we can underestimate like how incredible it is. And obviously we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but to come through this period, like, and I'll just say it one more time, I think, credit to these boys, man, to go Tottenham, Chelsea and Brighton in 10 days and win all of them. Like, credit, man. Like, it was ugly, like the last 2 games. Like, it was, some of it was all awful. Like, but you've got to win, and City haven't today. That's what it comes down to, right? They haven't, and they were up twice. I mean, credit where credit's due, mate. And yeah, huge.
And just, sorry, mate, just one thing I want to add to that, because I think there's a really interesting point you've made, Raj, about one more weekend like this, the gap becomes so big, and then you're really trying to motivate players to try and climb a mountain. And there's 2 additional factors I'm going to add in there. You're trying to motivate players to climb a mountain that they have climbed multiple times before. So they have, this is a team that has reached Everest a number of times. And so when the gap is that big and you're saying, right, we need to get to Everest again, and they're going, well, 1, I have done it before. 2, that is a big gap, and I've got to put my heart and soul to it. And 3, and I think this is also a factor, in a World Cup year where if I get injured, I'm out, because at this point, a serious injury that literally could potentially put me fully out of the World Cup. Fully out. So I actually think that insight is maybe more key than you think. If the gap does grow a little bit more, and you're trying to poke these guys into this City to get going, and everyone at this point, especially we've heard about what happened with Rodrigo and what he was saying. He's like gutted, not because he's out of the seat, because he's going to miss the World Cup. Every single one of those players is going to have that in their head as well. So when you're saying, I need to go full throttle, get in there, they're going, I did it a couple of seasons ago. I've got the title. I think I'd rather go to the World Cup. All right, let's see what we can do. But you're not talking the same as if it was the other way around and it was us. Do you see what I mean? And we've never won we haven't won the title for so long. So I think there's a lot in there that you could easily unpack just over a long conversation that will come to play the closer we get to the end of the season.
It's a huge point, right? Because it's amazing how the mentality works there, because I can see the mentality playing out in exactly the way you've described for some of these City players. If say someone like a Rodri, yeah, like Rodri's going, I've had injury problems as it is, mate. I've won all these things already. I want to go to that World Cup. Yeah. Especially like, remember, was it the World Cup or was it the Euros where he got injured in the final? Which one was that? I can't remember. Yeah, like that. But on the flip side, right, with our players, it may work in exactly the opposite way. If you're like Saka and if you're Declan Rice, you're thinking the next like 5-6 months, next 6 months could be the most ridiculous 6 months of my career. It could be like, you could win everything in 6 months. Everything you could. You're on the verge of like everything, like with the club, and then you go, with England and have a great World Cup. They're looking at this going like, this season, if you're a psychologist, if you're working for Arsenal and you're in their ear, you're saying to them, guys, this is your moment. Like, you've trained your whole life for the next 6 months. All these years of hard work is this 6 months. It may never happen again, but it could all happen now, right? It could motivate our boys in a far different way. So it is, mate. You're very, very correct about that World Cup point. It is a big factor.
The only other thing I was also going to add is, come
Well,
on,
you're going to
man.
say if there's a
We are
world war and it gets called off. Is that what you're gonna say?
no. I mean, think about it. We are perennial injury artists, right? Where we constantly have got half the team out with injuries. And I think I think it might have been you, Myz, that said, when you're on the verge of winning something, it's amazing how all of a sudden those injuries aren't really that big and everybody's available to play. Let's just think about the squad at the moment and how that statement reflects with the squad. Marino aside, because he did have all of a sudden we have most of our squad currently available, right? Everyone is there chomping at the bit to get on the pitch, and this is coming into the running. If
Apart
we
from our
think about
captain.
all the but we don't know what's happening with Odegaard.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We don't know what's happening with Odegaard. But if you think about all the previous seasons, think about all the injuries that we've had long term. As soon as you hear that someone's out, it is long term. It is long term. Anybody. The slightest thing is somehow it requires surgery. And it was like he was jogging.
There's a random new muscle that's discovered and it's ruptured. No one's ever ruptured before.
That's not ever ruptured. But now I was like, oh no. It's like everything is that was the worst tackle I've ever seen. It's a knock, mate. He's back. He's back next week. Is good. So I just think there's just I just feel there's a different this season at the moment to what we have seen. Literally the same play kind of occur for the past 2-3 years. So there's just something different, and also that World Cup coming up.
Yeah, boys, like you said, big night. It feels really big. It's gone for us tonight, and I guess look, there's now attention now switches, right? FA Cup, Champions League before the league comes back again. I don't think we're going to preview like the Mansfield game or anything like that. Like we're obviously all expecting lots of changes. Hopefully, lots of players get a rest. We obviously know who some of those players that we desperately want to get a rest and just not be involved at all. And then massive, because like the Champions League's back, right? And that sort of campaign restarts, and you kind of like almost like it's weird because didn't forget about the Champions League as such, but obviously because we've not played for a while in it, and everything, like all the energy has been going into, well, two things really for me. I think the league, obviously, but also this Carabao Cup final is being really built up, really built up, because obviously it's City, right? And obviously it would be Arteta's, well, second trophy, but let's say his first trophy in a long time since he joined. So it's going to be really fascinating to see like what Arteta does with the squad, how we deal with any new injuries that we do get, because we probably are going to get some, given how many games there are. And then that Everton game that weekend, like you guys were saying, right? We play Everton at home, City play West Ham away. I think that game is like an evening kickoff or a night kickoff. And yeah, West Ham have been pretty good form, right? So obviously they won again tonight. I know they got smashed by Liverpool the other day, but generally they've been pretty good form, and they should have won against United a few weeks ago as well. They conceded a late goal there. So like West Ham are going to give them a game. Before we end, actually, before obviously talking about West Ham, I think we need to talk about this relegation battle, and we need to talk about Tottenham. We need to, right? I was going to wrap up, but I think we absolutely should while we're together. So
this is going to be cruel. Yeah, this is going to be so cruel.
League table, yeah. I've got it up as well. So Tottenham obviously haven't played in this round of games yet. They play tomorrow, right?
Against Palace.
Palace at home. So I mean, I don't know how far up we're going to go. Let's just go from Leeds down, right? So Leeds. So everyone's played 29 games except for Tottenham, who've played 28. So Leeds are on 31 points. Tottenham, who've played a game less, on 29. Forest on 28 now. West Ham on 28. And okay, let's just disregard Burnley and Wolves and assume that Wolves don't go on some ridiculous run and somehow find their way, to find a way to survive. But so those teams look like the most likely teams to be, in and around this relegation battle. I think when we did a pod a few weeks ago, I can't remember when it was, but we spoke about I think we basically asked the question to each other: could Tottenham get relegated? I can't remember what we all said. I felt at the time, I'm not just saying this like to say I told you so, because obviously it hasn't even happened yet or anything, but I genuinely felt at the time watching Tottenham, and obviously I think the media have said this as well, which is a really good point. Number one, watching Tottenham, they are terrible. They are terrible, right? They're just a terrible, terrible team in every single aspect, right? Even their own managers telling, their interim managers saying the same as well, where they need to improve in defensive midfield and in attack. But along with that, right, the point that the media have made, or that, you know, is the point that the media have made, sorry, is that compared to a lot of these other teams that they're in and around, none of their players basically signed up to be in a relegation battle.
Mate,
None of their
I made
players.
this point in the last pod. Why are you
Oh,
giving
okay, was
the,
it
why,
you?
why are you giving the press, the pundits or whatever? Listen, you've got the man here.
Apologies, man. Apologies. Okay, Raj of the Arseholics
I gave a
podcast.
big speech.
Did you?
How what I said was
Yeah,
they have
fine.
no stakeholder in this who has any experience or desire to be in a relegation battle. They got the fans have no heart, no experience for it. Igor Tudor's got no Premier League experience, no affinity to the club, and the players, none of them signed up for this. They are not players who want to be part of this. That is, but what I did say, if I recall what I said, was I didn't think that they would go down, but I said the one thing that I would, you know, say that they haven't got in favour of is that they have no stakeholder in this game. I do think that is a big factor.
Okay. So,
mate, sorry,
no,
man.
go on, mate.
Mate,
Go on.
I think they're going down. I genuinely think they're going down.
I honestly think they are going down, mate.
I think they're going down, and I'll tell you why. When I just look at the last 5 games, right, they have got the worst record, the worst of the whole Premier League over the last 5 games. They have lost 4 and drawn 1, right? Even Wolves in the last 5 games have won 2, drawn 2, lost 1. So at the moment, they are and it's not even close. It is the worst by far of any of the other Premier League teams, right? So at the moment, they are trending horrendously badly. Their record, their effort, clearly as well, their heads are down. Their supporters are getting on their backs. I think they're going down. Genuinely do. And I think we're going to get to the end of the season, and it's not even going to be close. I think they're gone.
So I don't think it's that clear cut.
I think
there's a
let us come back to this, but I'm predicting they're gone.
The bit that I would like concur right now, right at this point in time, they are the worst side in the Premier League.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that I think anyone, I think even the Tottenham fan would agree, they are the worst team in the Premier League. And what does that mean more specifically? Any team in the Premier League would rather play Tottenham than anyone else. Yeah, like that's the situation Tottenham have found themselves in at the moment. They might just like luck out by the fact that at the end of the day, they have got 1 game in hand over the people that, you know, are below them and they're 1 point above. And let's say they beat Palace. Palace aren't in the greatest place right now. Let's say they beat Palace. Like 4 points it is quite a lot, you know, to be above Forest and West Ham. They'd be 4 points above them both, right? It is quite a lot, but no, I'm feeling more. I'm a bit more towards the idea of them getting relegated now than I was when we spoke last, because, you know, at that point when we spoke last, they hadn't lost to Fulham, and West Ham hadn't won, and Forest hadn't drawn at City. So, like, you know, when you see again with, you know, Forest drawing at City, you're reminded of the fact that they actually have like got decent players. You know, and I know Tottenham have got, in theory, like some decent players, but again, like, you know, for all the reasons we've discussed, I mean, I think it is fine. I love how you put it, Chooks, and you know, you think it won't even be close. I mean, should we even bother like talking about what it means if they get relegated and the ridiculousness of it and what we think would actually happen?
Would you guys want? I mean, would you guys want them to get relegated? Because there's genuinely a few
I
Arsenal
get
fans I've seen that don't, obviously want the North London derby, want that rivalry in the league and all the rest of it. It's the first fixture that a lot of us look for when the fixtures come out. But would you guys would love to see it? I would love to see it.
I'd love to see them relegated.
It'd be fucking hilarious, mate.
I'd love to see them relegated.
I mean, I look, no, I genuinely do enjoy the North London derby. I enjoy the rivalry. I enjoy the emotion of it. I enjoy the theatre. So I enjoy that. And I would genuinely miss that if we didn't have it. I really would. And not just that, but it's also the history and the competition that between the two teams. So I genuinely would miss it. But this surely would be one of the biggest teams in the history of the Premier League to ever be relegated just the
in many contexts, nothing like this has ever happened before.
So almost like it is, and this would be like history in the making, and as well. Don't forget, I think like I showed you, you guys a stat that before the last, wasn't it like the last 2 or 3 seasons, like last 3 seasons, when obviously we finished second, for 6 seasons before that, Tottenham finished above us.
Yeah.
So it is fascinating how it is twisted and like that this badly. How fortunes have changed this much, and they are now in this position. So just to see the spectacle almost. There's like a morbid curiosity of what is this going to look like if it were to happen. But I would genuinely miss the rivalry if it wasn't there.
Yeah, a huge part for me, Myz, is the curiosity more than anything else. Like I would miss the North London derby and stuff. And like, fine, there's a bit of banter here and there. Okay, a lot of banter, but honestly, it's just the curiosity of a team with a club with a stadium of that size, with a wage bill of what it has, what it means to be relegated. Like and because on one hand, and again, this is why I'm genuinely curious. On one hand, like, yes, okay, the sponsorship deals suffer, they sell a load of players, but actually what they're left with is still good enough or whatever, and to actually get promoted again. Fine, okay, that could happen. That maybe that is likely, but there are several scenarios where it gets really bad. Like it gets really, really bad, where you have a bunch of owners who go, I don't really know what to do with this anymore, because it's suddenly, you can't sell it for very much at this point. Like you're not going to fetch that much money, so they won't really want to sell. So what do? Do you strip it? Do you turn it into a different thing? Because that's very possible. They can, I can't remember if we've talked about it on this pod, but they're set up to build an NFL franchise in London. The stadium is set up for that.
Oh my God.
I'm being deadly serious here.
When you said changed it, I thought you meant like just the direction in terms of the football club, and like sort of like, Champions League club currently used to finish in the top 4, top 5, whatever, and like kind of like, flirting with a little bit of success, and now
can I let me do a sort of analogy, which I don't want to be disrespectful to the women's game, but I'm just talking more in a stature and finances type thing. How like Premier League clubs have the men's club, and they've got their they've got the women's team which plays, and it's a thing, and it's a genuine thing. But at the end of the day, it's not like the primary revenue stream. It's like a secondary thing that you fit around the main thing. Like the Arsenal women's team aren't going to play at the Emirates at priority over the men's team, for example. Yeah. That's what I can see happening. I can see a situation if Tottenham get relegated for the owners to go, we'll be primarily an NFL franchise and still play football.
Dude,
we still play. I'm being 100% serious. And I think they'll say, and we'll play football. We'll still play football. We still have a football team. We still have a football team. I'm joking. We'll still have a football team to play in the weeks, in the periods that we don't play NFL. So we still get some money. I'm not joking. But if the money, mate, they're the only club with a stadium set up to play NFL, and you know the NFL want to expand, and having a London franchise, from a travel perspective, teams from America fly all around America. It's a genuine ambition.
There's no way that, like, you know, like how with the Super League, right? The European Super League, the fans just, right. That wasn't the only reason, but okay, that was a big factor, right? The fans just were completely against it, and it flipped. Like, there's no way that. I don't know how, you know, legally or whatever, but
it's not because it happens insidiously. So this is the thing, right? So it's not a thing where they go, we're going to take Tottenham out of the Football League. That's not it. But they're basically going, so we're going to start playing American football. At that point, it's okay. You're not breaking any rules. The fans are probably like, okay, fine, whatever. But you very slowly just start paying more attention to your NFL side, not investing as much in your football side. That's not, just, you know, that's not breaking any rules. It's not like that, you know, and so it happens slowly, right? But like, honestly, it comes down to the money of it, doesn't it? You get relegated, mate. Tottenham get relegated. They financially, that is, mate, not being in the Premier League.
And they've still got to pay the stadium off, right?
Fuck me, they don't have a stadium naming sponsor yet. You're going to get one now? Are you kidding me?
The Vanarama toilet bowl.
I think they've already had some deals that are like either had to be ripped up or like I ripped it up.
Jinx is making me laugh. Sorry.
I don't. Seriously.
Okay. So
this is
I don't know where we go from here, really. I mean, we're supposed to be wrapping up. It's probably the best part of the night, to be honest. Look, okay, Tottenham relegation. Like, I mean, we could probably just do a whole separate chat about it, really, and the potential, like, what could happen, because their fixtures, my God, some of their games, like they've got Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. In between that, they've got Liverpool away, so they've got to go to Anfield. They've got Forest at home after they play Madrid twice, which is obviously a massive game. I mean, after that, okay, Sunderland away, Brighton at home, and Wolves away, which could be really interesting, depending on what Wolves do in the next few weeks. And then Villa away, Leeds at home. Like, all of these teams have got something to play for. Chelsea away, Everton at home. Oh, that's it. Sorry, then it goes to friendly. So yeah, so they are
nothing says that they're going to win any of those games. All of those games are important games. Do you know what I mean? And they've not been able to win any of them, like almost the last 5 games. None of those games, there's nothing that indicates to me that they're going to be able to win any of them. That is why I'm saying, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at that situation, I'm looking at where they are, I'm looking at those games, and I'm thinking, these guys are gone. I don't see them staying up.
Go on, Raj. I was going to bring up some of the comments, but go
no, ahead. I was going to as well, because I actually just noticed that they were. And I was going to say I had a look at some of the comments. Charles, thanks for all the comments. And actually, Charles, we discussed a lot of the Hurzeler stuff at the beginning of the pod. So I think like most of the comments that I've seen that Charles has put through all relate to that stuff. So Charles, you snooze, you lose, brother.
I mean, it's probably like I said, I apologize. It was my fault. I started the not the stream, the episode, the podcast on a sour note in some ways. But yeah, let's just very quickly. We don't have to get into loads of detail. We'll just bring up some of Charles's questions and comments. So massive win needs massive rest day, boys. Mansfield need big rotation before Leverkusen. Everyone comes in fresh. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all agree with that. Absolutely need to rotate against Mansfield. United lost, Liverpool lost, City drew, puts Tottenham now just one above the relegation zone with Forest. Tottenham must be trembling. Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about Tottenham. It was nice to see United lose. I mean, I didn't see it, but nice to hear that they lose. They lost, sorry. Yeah, no one really wants this top 4, top 5, do they? It's quite interesting, actually. Liverpool losing, obviously Chelsea beating Villa. And it opens it up quite nicely for some other teams to maybe come in. And obviously we've got Everton next, and they definitely have a chance. So, and have you seen Everton's away record? It's like really good.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think we're all kind of looking at Everton as like, oh yeah, like we've got over these tough games, Spurs, Chelsea, Brighton, then Everton's like 3 points. It might not be as straightforward as we think it will be. By hook or by crook, boys, we get it over the line. The first one, is this our Aguero moment, or is it yet to come, you feel? And no, I mean, not for me. No Aguero moments yet. Like, I don't know if maybe we won't need an Aguero moment, but yeah, no. But as we said before, like pivotal weekend. Stevie, cheers for tuning in, man. Prove me wrong. I said to Arsenal after Wolves, far from over, but one step closer to doing that. Everton next. Yeah, absolutely, man. After Wolves, it felt very, very different, didn't it? But we've now finally got that 7-point lead back over City. And yeah, like Raj was saying, Charles, thanks for all your questions about Fabian Hurzeler, that arsehole. We don't like him. Yeah. Big baby. Roy Keane, big baby style. Big baby. But yeah, look, we're done with them now for the season. Took 6 points off them. And like Raj was saying, right, he's in trouble. So maybe we won't see him in the Premier League by the next time he comes to play Brighton next season. Right, boys, an hour and a half. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. It was good.
Didn't even laugh at United.
Do you want to laugh at United?
No, I mean, we just spent so much time laughing at United, laughing at other things, But
I mean, they finally lost under Carrick, which is quite nice because everyone was getting like a couple of my mates were messaging me after the weekend, like, "Oh, I reckon if Arsenal do this and United win every single game, we could win the title." And I think they were being serious. Like, fuck's sake, man! Like, who are these people? Like, where are their brain cells? Honestly. Yeah. So yeah, United lost as well, which is and Liverpool yesterday, right? That was hilarious. Too funny. Nice one, boys. Right.
Thank you, Myz. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.